Hello and welcome to another super exciting LEGO building review. Today I've got the Spider-Man's spider crawler, you know, from the hit TV series Spider Crawler. I don't really know what to say. I think this set is essentially just Spider-Man, not related to any film or TV series or anything in particular. Seems to come with a Spider-Man minifig, fine. Vulture, okay, why not? Sandman, yep, good villain. And then Spider-Man 2099. Who knows why? I feel like that's like the weirdest choice of all. It can only be that they had a certain amount left. In fact, looking at this has got a slight vibe that it may not have originally been released in this country. It's just got that sort of non-European look to it. Let's get it out. Alright, just 3 bags, that should be pretty easy. I think I'll live build this. It's not very big, is it? It's just, yeah, well, it's just not very big. Let's see, 3 over there. 1 over here. What I'm seeing is that bag 1 is all green and beige, which I'm thinking is Sandman and Vulture, and bags 2 and 3 are the spider. What are they calling it? The spider crawler. See, what's throwing me off about that is that I don't know what the spider crawler is. I've not come across it in comics. I have come across things like spider slayers, which look very much like this. Or there was Spider-Man's car that he had for a while, I think. That maybe Hawkeye had at some... No, that was it. It was Spider-Man had the car, and then in the Old Man Logan comic book, they gave it... Hawkeye had it for some reason. Is that right? Hawkeye was blind, and Logan just found him. Yeah. Alright, okay. Everything's out. I'm seeing some little white webs that are clearly going to be like Spider-Man getting webbing powers. Alright, start from this. Oh, hello. This is a new one. Now this is weird, right? Because this didn't look to me like a new Lego set. To me it looked like an older set. It's been kicking around for years. It's not very timely. It's not based on a film or anything, so it could have been. And yet when I've opened this, it's advertising an app where I could have the instructions for it on an iPad. Why I'd want that, I don't know, but it's an option. And I've never seen that offered before, which is odd, given that I've had incredibly recent sets. Like this, the Falcon, and there's been Infinity Wars sets, so they've been from, 2018, whereas this set could have been from any time. Maybe they gave up on the concept. So, but yeah. Well, I was right about what I said. Bag 1 is the Vulture and Sandman. Who... Yeah, it says he's a minifig there. That doesn't matter. Right, let's get cracking. Step 1. Build the Vulture. Now, I picked up a head, and the way I can tell it's the Vulture is because he's got a bit of grey hair, and the Vulture is old. Well, that's new. Well, it's not new. The Vulture's old and bald, which means he has no hair, right? And he doesn't have a hat, crucially, so he's only got a one-sided headpiece. He has no second face, and his only face is an angry face. Not overly interested. I've already made a mistake. I'm supposed to put a kind of neck piece on this. Oh, that made a really nice popping noise when I took his head off. Okay, there we are. Get that on there. Build that. All right. A big part of the reason I decided to live build this was almost entirely because I can't be asked to get up and turn the camera off to do it in how I normally do it with like the, what's it called, the time lapse. To do that, I'd have to switch the camera over to a different mode, and I normally position it a bit different. I can't be bothered to do that, so here we are. Let's see. Oh, Sandman's got two faces. He's got neutral face and horrifying melting face. So I'm going to go with that. And he should have some hair. Yep. Is it Flint Marco? Is that him? I don't think that's right. It's Flint something, but I don't think it's Marco. I'm pretty sure there's a Kane Marco. I might have got that wrong. Oh, he doesn't have legs. These are his legs. Ah, I see. So, wait, what? Oh no, yeah, that is fine. So he's not technically a minifig, is he? If he hasn't got legs, he's got like a sandy base, which actually looks pretty good. I quite like that. This might be one of the minifigures that gets added to my interesting minifigs area, which does need updating. I've been going cavalier. I haven't actually been looking at the instructions. I've been assuming the instructions this whole time. Oh, I think this is a plot based build part here. It seems to be a small pedestal with a really nice gem in it actually. What's weird is the gem they've given here is far nicer than the infinity gems. It's a much better size and shape. Now I need to make a base for Sandman. Should be a little hinge in here somewhere. He's always a bastard to make, so that's like that in the middle, that like that. And then build this onto this. Good. You know what, I think what I'll do is I'm going to put out two versions of this video. I'll put out the cut down version that doesn't have the build, and then I'll put out a separate version which is the whole thing including the build, and maybe it won't have any review at the end because that will have all been covered. That way I can get double content out of this small Lego set. That's called being cheap. That's what that is. I had a revelation last night. I started watching the TV series Titans, which all I knew about it was that they months ago there were like not screenshots but set pictures released of Titans that made it look like quite bad indeed. And then I think there was a trailer released, which I never actually watched because I don't watch trailers, I just hear about them. And the main thing I knew about it was that at some point, for some reason, Robin just goes, "Fuck Batman." So I thought nothing of it after that. I actually assumed from hearing about it was a film, not a TV series. And then I thought nothing of it. And the other day I was thinking, I'm going to watch something. And I saw Titans. I was like, wait, that's a TV series? And it came out and it's finished airing or immediately aired. I don't know how they do it. I was like, oh, well, I haven't heard really anything about this. So I started watching it. And I was thinking, I assumed going in that it was going to be terrible. Like, you know, bad. But I quite like aggressively bad television. There's something comforting about it. I was watching it, I was like, hey, damn it, it's pretty good actually. It's a weird setting. It's not like nearly all like superhero stuff. For some reason, they feel the need that they have to do an origin show, and then on top of that, it has to be an origin for like the whole world. So you'll see. I'll give an example in. What's a good example of Arrow? In Arrow, you watch Arrow. It's his origin story becoming Arrow, and then every other like superhuman or Cape Crusader or whatever, they're also starting with him. So like there's no prior history to him. I know that's not a great example because in later seasons they do say, well, actually this guy was in it. He was essentially you before you, but he retired for whatever reason. But it doesn't do that. It's very much a case of, well, here's Robin. He's been Robin for like 3 or 4 years. Oh, no. Well, an amount of time. He's not really Robin anymore. He doesn't like Batman. He's left him. We join him there. Stuff's happened. People know who the Joker is. It's fine. It's all fine. It's based on the comic books. Not a specific comic book. It's just a rough amalgamation of continuities, you assume. So yeah, so far, gotta say, it's actually pretty good. Incredibly well. The special effects are weird. Some of them are really good. Some of them are terrible. This is the CGI. The practical effects are fine, to be honest. And it's gone for. It's a very brutal show as well. It's very violent and bloody, which is always refreshing. The only slight issue it has is it does remind me a little bit of Spartacus, the Blood and Sand or Gods of the Arena or whatever, which was a great show, but in some parts was like almost excessively violent. Like a lot of it, you're watching, you're like, hey, this is well written, and the acting's good, the story's really involved and intriguing, and then there'll just be a scene. It's like, yeah, chop his dick off, yeah. That's what the people want to see. And you're watching, you're like, they didn't need this, did they? Right. All this is I'm making right now is a base for Sandman. I'm sure of it. It's incredibly elaborate. I forget just how long it can take to make things in Lego. My viewpoint is skewed from having made this behemoth. Right, it's still not coming together. I just want to put it together, but it won't let me. Well, I mean, it would. It's not that harsh. So here's a little story for you. So I've got an iPad. I've got an iPad 2, right? So it's old now. It's not so old it's unusable. I was savvy with it in that I basically never updated it after a certain point, meaning that it it didn't suffer from being dragged down by new shit. I only really use it for just browsing the internet. I couldn't think of the word browsing. I was like, searching the internet? No, just browsing the internet really. And then my charger for it broke, and it's one of the old Apple chargers. I don't even know what they're called, like the old sort of 32 pin ones before Lightning, essentially. And it was the only one I had, and I was like, none of the phones use this anymore, so I'm not gonna get a replacement in a hurry. Does this go on here somehow? Doesn't seem to have. I think I just need to push it on, but it doesn't want to be square. How does it go? Or does he just sit on it? I think he might just sit on it, to be honest. It's not quite got the right connector on the base. Let's just ignore that and hope it solves itself. Now we're making a hammer. So the charger for it broke. And I just sort of stopped using it one day. Maybe, let's say a year ago. I was like, one day I'll get back to this. And like, just before Christmas, I was like, you know what, let's finally buy a new charger. They're not expensive. I think I bought one for like £2. Just so I can have it again. Because you never know. I don't know, there might have been like, I don't know what was on there. There might have been, videos, pictures, all that sort of thing. Because it was a big 64GB one. So odds are any picture I'd have ever taken on there would still be on there. And I don't use iCloud or anything. So they're kind of locked in there. So I finally did that. And I'm sure this story's going. Oh yeah, I've just remembered where this story's going. So I've had that, and I had a bit of a nostalgia trip. Like, what was I doing on here? Where did I leave off? What apps have I got on here? I was like, oh yeah, I used to read comic books on this. Oh, it's a great way of reading comic books. And the other day, I was doing a bit of tidying up. I was like, I quite fancy listening to a podcast or something. I didn't have my phone on me, and I think the battery was dead. So I was like, well, I can't use that. Oh, iPad, what's on there? And saved on there was, back in the day, Pixel Spank, this channel, essentially before it was a channel, when it was just a kind of a nothing. We had a podcast, and there's only maybe 20 episodes of it, which I think are still available on iTunes. I'm not entirely certain. I think the hosting I paid for at the time was pay once and you've got it for lifetime, to a certain bandwidth a month. So for example, I could maybe have, you could like, there'd be, if there were 500 downloads a month, that would be it. And if it went higher than that, they'd bill me. Or if it went higher than that, it would be capped out and you wouldn't be able to. So it's still available. I think I've made a hammer. Yes. So I've been listening to episodes of my own old podcast, and I'm such an arsehole because I'm listening to it, and anytime I make a joke, I'm like, yes, that was funny. I was funny then. And it's like, it's the most dickish thing, isn't it? To be watching, to be listening to episodes of something you made. It's like, I'm just that good. I'm that vain. That goes on the top there. Alright, so the thing is, he's got this hammer now, which is great, but it's really heavy. So unless I can actually get this to sit down, I've got an idea. I reckon if I can get it to go on half of it, I can figure out how it goes on the other half. It doesn't fit. I reckon I must have made this wrong. It can't just not fit. They wouldn't do that. It's Lego. Right, the hinge is there. He's looking this way, but it could go on any direction. I think it goes like that way. How does this fit? It doesn't. It doesn't lock on. It should lock on. Why wouldn't you be square on it? Damn it, Sandman. Am I missing bits to his base, maybe? That could be it. No. I guess he just sits on it, but now he's got this massive weighted hammer. It won't work. He's got a wide enough base on his own that he can just about hold it aloft. There's supposed to be gems hidden in this. Let's put them back. How do I rip this out as well? I think the story here is it's a jewellery heist. It reminds me a little bit of the start of the Marvel Superheroes Lego game, in which Spider-Man versus Sandman. I suppose that it could be any confrontation, couldn't it? Onto the Vulture. It's actually the Vulture's wings. We've already made the Vulture. Adrian Toombs. That's the Vulture's real name. I think his shtick is that he is old, very, very old, and white. They changed him up a bit for Homecoming, probably for the better, because before that he was essentially exactly the same character as Norman Osborn. In fact, I think he hated Norman Osborn, and then somehow starts to hate Spider-Man for some reason. I don't know. Most of my knowledge of these things is from the Spider-Man animated series of the 90s. A fair source, but not a great source, seeing as I don't think Sandman was even in it. I think they couldn't get the rights, so they replaced him with a similar character called, not Aquaman, but Hydro Man or something. He could turn to water, but he would evaporate. He was less useful than Sandman. And he had a really weird backstory where he made a clone. In fact, his whole story was weird. I'm pretty sure he got his powers because he was swabbing the deck one day and he fell in the ocean. And boom, he turned into a kind of water nymph. In fact, all origin stories like that are really dumb. It's always like, oh, somehow we got in an experiment, boom, superpowers. This fucking Sandman in the movies was incredibly dumb. He's literally on the run from the police. He falls into he jumps a fence and then suddenly he's in like a weird sonic testing site, and they have no way of knowing if they didn't even put a roof on it. What are they even testing? There's like a spinning and there's sand. What were they doing there? And then it's never heard from again. There's no point in the film where those guys are trying to clean up the mess they made. It's like, surely you figured out you may have created a Sandman. Do they not have security? And that's one of the many issues of Spider-Man 3. It's also quite a bad film, isn't it? The dancing. Never let the world forget the dancing. Right, so I've got to make 3 of these wings, and then they have these stickers go on them. There's a lot of these stickers. They're all a very small and awkward size. If you are that kind of a fan, and you would like to hear the brief, although in my opinion, excellent Pixel Spank podcast, it should still be available on iTunes. I have considered just uploading it all to YouTube. The main reason I haven't is because I can't remember where the original files are, and it's surprisingly difficult to download a podcast just straight up to a computer. It's not that difficult, but surprisingly difficult. You will notice if you do it, it has no branding related to the current branding. It's pre-logo. I have fucked this up twice now, this sticker. I'm doing terrible. That's not too bad. Right, so I've done 3 of them, and they have these little pointy bits on them. Perfect. Wait, hang on. No, these are all different. Shit. I can tell what it is. There's left wings and there's right wings. And, the centrists are normally the sane ones. No, this. There we are. I'm going to have to do a reverse of this in a minute. These are actually looking like they're going to be quite good wings. Down there. I feel when you're doing wings, it's important that they don't spray out like that. They should be flat on the top and spray out like downwards. That's how you make wings look cool. And now back to Ben's masterclass in wing design, right? And one more piece. Yeah, that makes sense. Actually, it really needs this. This ties it together. There we are. That's a good wing. It's not done yet, but it's good. Now it's done. Not quite done yet. I have spoken too soon on this matter a number of times. Now it's finished. Yes, it actually is this time. Or is it? Oh, no. I have to put it on this. So that's facing that way. It's upside down, so it goes like that. This is his backpack, I've now realised. It's going to attach to him. Oh, it attaches to this little thing I put on his back earlier. I can put it on now. In fact, I shouldn't, but I already have. It's actually massive. It's hilariously big. I'm not going to put it on till it's done because of how big it is and how there's no way he'll even be able to stand with it on. Which, while realistic, it somehow lessens the realism of the Lego. Yep. So that fits on there. I did a big rewatch of Lord of the Rings over Christmas. I watched the extended editions of the Hobbit trilogy and then the Lord of the Rings. Now I know full well that the Hobbit is not that good. It's not as good as Lord of the Rings. It's got some good stuff in there. If you enjoy the world, it's good. Nearly everything Hobbit based in it is great. What's his face? I want to call him Martin Freeman, that's it. Martin Freeman is brilliant in it. He's not in it enough. And Ian McKellen's great in it. The dwarves are a little bit hit and miss. And if you watch the extended edition, I personally think it's better than the theatrical release. Part of that might be because when I watch it, I don't tend to watch them all as one film. I watch them in halves. So it's essentially you're watching a 6-part miniseries when you do it that way, which somehow changes it in a way that's preferable for me. The reason I do it is I know if I watch The Lord of the Rings afterwards, I'm going to need something else to watch. And if I haven't just watched The Hobbit, it would be The Hobbit, wouldn't it? And you don't want to do it in that order. You want to end on Lord of the Rings because it's substantially better. Particularly if you haven't watched them for a while. You'll watch them and you'll think, oh yeah, this is a good film. I like this. And then you'll finish with, oh, what's next? The Hobbit? Ugh. Whereas if you watch The Hobbit first, you'll watch The Hobbit and you think, yeah, it's not too bad. I quite like it. It's, you know, it's set in a world I like. It's got some big fight scenes at the end. Yeah, there's some stuff going on. And then you get to watch Lord of the Rings afterwards, and you're like, oh yeah, this is better. This is much better. And suddenly you have a slight appreciation for some things as well. And the implication that the reason the dwarves can't help is because they're fighting their own war up in the north, as portrayed in Lord of the Rings, the battle in the north. Oh god, I got that in there perfect. What's good about these stickers is they don't immediately get stuck down to the Lego, and the Lego's nice and gloss. So even if you do mess it up once or twice, you have got a chance to fix it. Right. Christ, I made those so fast. That's got to be a record. Alright, let's finish on that. And then the other night, I was just about to go to bed, and on my stairs for the past year, there's been a box of just stuff, essentially. And there's a big stack of comic books. And really, it's not just comic books, it's magazines and books. And I just noticed, like, the top one had fallen off the other day. And I looked down, I was like, what the hell is that? I picked it up, it was a book. It was a book on Lord of the Rings. It was like a behind-the-scenes making-of sort of book. You know, the kind of book that you'd see come out around the time the film comes out in cinemas. A kind of a companion piece. Something you'd get a fan of it for Christmas. I presume that's where I got it from. I have no idea. And it's also the sort of book that you probably wouldn't actually read if you were given it. You'd get given it, you'd skim through it and say, oh, that's a nice gift, thank you very much. And then you'd probably put it aside. And then every now and again, you might just pick it up, open it up, like read a chapter or whatever. It's not really chaptered. But that's what I did just before going to bed. And I was like, oh, this is good, but it's interesting. I read about Gandalf's hat. Which, as I say, it sounds terribly boring, but if you actually think about Gandalf's hat, it is quite interesting. They made, like, I think they said it was either like 10 or 15 different variations of it just to get it just right. And if you think about it, Gandalf's hat, in the original Lord of the Rings, he wears it for the first half of the first film. That's it. Like he ditches it in Moria. I think Ian McKellen actually said, thematically, yeah, Gandalf kind of knew at this point he wasn't going to need the hat anymore. It wasn't going to come in handy fighting the Balrog. Okay, so now this attaches here. Okay. And he's even got a gun that shoots. Good. You heard that. It bounced twice and then not again, which means it's landed on something firm. Hopefully it won't embed itself in my foot at any point. Actually, these little studs they fired, they're not too bad because they're kind of flat. If you do stand on them, they won't really hurt. They'll hurt a bit, just they won't really hurt. Okay, so yeah, if I flap these right up, he might be able to sit down. There's a balance point. There, that'll do. Let's bag one down. There is a risk I might run out of, not film, but what's it called? What do cameras have? Memory, that's it. Hey, is this the first Spider-Man minifig I have? I think it is. That's really good, actually. It's just, Spider-Man's one of those. He's probably one of my favourite comic book characters. But if you ask me, I would never say it just because it's. I kind of almost forget about him, which in itself is a bit of a joke towards Spider-Man. Right, is that four-way? Yep. It's quite an interesting little bot, actually. It kind of looks like a mix between a normal Lego thing and a Lego Bionic. Is it Bionic? Bionicle? one of my favourite jokes online is like boy meets girl or whatever. Girl goes, yeah, I'm quite into toys. Is that okay with you? And the guy's like, yeah, I'm alright with that. And it cuts to the girl, so it's like, well, the Bionicle lore is actually very deep. I butchered that telling, but I've if you're familiar with it, you're familiar. If not, it's probably the wrong video for you to be watching. Alright. I got back into Monster Hunter recently, Monster Hunter World. And it's something I've been meaning to get back into for ages. Like, when I stopped playing it, I didn't delete it from my Steam, my installed Steam games. I didn't, and that's something I have to do quite regularly because I haven't got a lot of hard drive space. Well, I have got a lot, but I've got a lot of stuff as well. So I never deleted because I was always like, I'm not done with this game. I'm just finished for now. I needed more content to come out was the main thing. And so I've gone back to playing that. And when you go back to playing Monster Hunter, it's 50-50. Basically, what you have to do is you have to go in and you have to run and jump into the deep end. Whatever the hardest level thing you ended up doing last time you stopped, you have to jump at that and try and do it. That's the only way you'll be able to get back into a Monster Hunter. If you try and start slowly, it won't work. And then, even then, because I've done this a lot, I'm an expert on trying to get back into Monster Hunter because I've played a lot of Monster Hunter. I'm somewhat of a veteran to the series by now. Even then, there's a 50-50 chance that like you'll either sink or swim. It will all come back to you and you'll know how to fight and then you'll pick up the minutiae later on. Or it just won't work for you, you'll get your ass handed to you and that'll be it and you'll move on. My experience with Monster Hunter World was kind of in the middle. I did okay, but not grand. And I couldn't really remember what my kind of what level of thing I was aspiring to, honestly. And I should say it. The thing that actually got me back into it was I followed a Monster Hunter Twitter account, and they tell you what the special quests for are each week. And it's a bit annoying because I think they only ever actually tell you the console ones. Nearly made a massive error there, but I actually just skipped ahead a step. Yeah, they only ever tell you the console ones, which are like 6 months ahead of the PC ones, so it's pretty pointless. But I just saw them saying that the event quest this week is fighting 2 great Jagras, which, if you're not familiar or you can't remember, is it's a big 4-legged lizard that drags its belly on the ground, has a tail, has a big sort of chin and a mane. That's as best I can describe it. It was fight 2 of them, and they were like the giant variants, either Gold Crown or Silver Crown. I want to say that Silver Crown are the big ones and Gold Crown are small, but I know that's not the case. I'm pretty sure it's that Silver Crown you'll encounter fairly often, and then Gold Crown are like, Jesus Christ, it's big. But on the Twitter post, it was either, oh Lord, they're coming, or face this double chonk. It was something like that. I enjoyed it so much. I was like, now is the time. Because currently, this year, i.e. we're in January, so I do mean this year, all I've been able to play, really, is Civilization, Civ 6. I brought the... I was playing it a lot. I was playing it so much, I was like, I should buy the expansion now. The one I've been not buying for ages, the Rise and Fall one. Which hasn't really... It doesn't add that much, but it's hard to tell what it adds because I have so many mods on. You're like, is this a mod or is it from the expansion? So I was just sort of stuck playing that for so long. It's really like an addiction playing Civ. A kind of a happy one. You're not sad doing it. I was like, I need to move on, and Monster Hunter was sort of there. So I'm heavily into that at the minute. Really enjoying it. Almost at the point where I'm like, I might need to not look at a guide, but just I know what I'm doing now is here. What I can be doing is up here, and there's a sliver of something in the middle that I just can't wrap my head around what it is. to get to it. Once I do, then it'll be good. TV wise, what am I watching? Well, I'm watching Titans, but I have a number of ongoing things with TV. There'll be a TV series I'll watch every now and again when it's like, don't fancy playing a game tonight. I'm not doing anything. I'm going to sit down and like watch some TV uninterrupted, which is code for I'm not going to have my phone out. I'm not going to be trying to go to sleep. It's 8 o'clock at night. It's not late. I actually want to pay attention. That currently is Titans. That's fine. My other series is whatever I put on TV while I'm cooking and or eating, which it's normally something like The Office or whatever else. I recently finished doing all of Community, which is a show I both love and hate because it's such a great show for the first 3 seasons. Then the 4th season's kind of The 5th season, it's good, and then suddenly loads of characters start leaving. And then the same thing happens in the 6th season where it's like, we've got maybe half the original cast. And I still like it, but it's like, you're nowhere near the highs of the first season. And it's kind of a sad petering out. I'm looking for little fangs. There's kind of, I presume they're fangs. I don't really know what they are. The funny thing is here, right? I like Spider-Man as a character. I have tremendous arachnophobia. Though it's not as bad as it used to be. I don't know if I've mellowed or if I've just had to deal with it less. But I have got it, right? At some point, I'm building a spider right now. At some point, this might become too spider-like and I won't be able to deal with it. like I'll just put a single piece on and I'll be like, ugh. Suddenly I know what I'm looking at. Yeah, so it was Community, and I was gonna make it my next one. I kind of want to do Always Sunny. The only trouble there is Always Sunny. It's not a show. See, if I'm cooking, it's normally the middle of the day. I tend to cook at like sort of lunchtime as a rule, so I never know when like friends or family are gonna drop by, or just various things. Basically, Always Sunny is far too an adult of a show to have on in the day. You never know. Like, that there's swearing, there's talking about banging, there's drugs. There's some very adult themes in it. And I can't be having that going on. What if my grandparents come for a visit suddenly? I can't have that on the telly. That doesn't work. So I've been doing 30 Rock. 30 Rock has a similar problem to Community, where I think there's 7 seasons. The first 5 seasons are great. The 6th season is not. And the 7th season, I think it gets okay. It might even be like the first 4 seasons are good, and like halfway through season 5, it kind of tapers off. A big factor for me is the character Heather, who is an appalling character and almost ruins the show for me. Like, the moment she comes in when I'm rewatching it, I'm like, this has just really gone downhill. It's one of those shows where you're watching it like, this has gone on too far now. It's too long. Should have wrapped it up. They brought in new characters and it hasn't worked. I'm not some stuck in the mud as well. I like it when they bring new characters into a show. For example, they bring in The Office when they brought in Robert California. I was fine with that. They bring in, was it Plop, Pete, and what's his name? Little Dwight. I can never remember his name. I want to call him Chris, but that's not it. Again, I'm fine with that. It works. I actually quite like Nelly as a character because I like Catherine Tate, as most English people do. Actually, no, she's 50-50. What the hell am I making? So suddenly the bit I was looking at became complicated. It's fine. Just realised I've inadvertently destroyed my throat today. I'm doing this now, and I also recorded 3 episodes of Paper Mario earlier, which is a combined, talking of far too long. Particularly for me, I don't talk very much throughout the day. It's one of the great jokes about me that if you knew me in life, there is no way on earth you'd think he has a YouTube channel. As I say, maybe 4 or 5 words a day. Not being rude or anything. I'm not shy. I just don't talk much. I don't really need to. I don't feel the need. It's a different kind of rudeness. So I've been watching 30 Rock, but I've been doing it essentially on shuffle. So I'm not going for it season by season. What I do is I hit shuffle on my system. It's a complicated system, and it will play like a random episode, and then it will go on from there. So like I'll only watch maybe 2 or 3 episodes because I'm not a decadent man sitting down for 8-hour meals, but I just like having something on. Yep. And then the thing I've been watching of an evening before I go to sleep each night, I've been watching Dragon Ball. Well, you know this. I've been watching it for ages. I finally finished Dragon Ball, and now I'm on Dragon Ball Z. I started with Dragon Ball Kai, actually, but like a few episodes in, I was like, this skipped a few things that I quite liked. I was like, I don't know if I need this sped up pace. And I looked it up, and I was like, oh, Dragon Ball Kai cuts out all the blood? I was like, I don't want that. I want more blood in, if anything. Give me the blood. So then I was like, well, I'll watch Dragon Ball Z instead. And I started watching that. I was watching it with subtitles, and I was like, I don't know, do I want this? And I had to look it up online because I've got no issue going between subtitle and dubbed. Is that short for dub title? That sounds weird. Audio dubbed, I think is the word. I've got no issue between the two. I'm not some purist who's like, oh no, you got to watch it in the original Japanese with words at the bottom. All it is for me is like, I don't care about any localization issues. Quite often, if it will be dubbed, if it's been dubbed by certain companies, it used to be 4Kids all the time, they'll have also like cut out a lot of shit to make it more age appropriate, which is fine because that's what they're doing. But also, I don't want that. So I had to look it up, and the general consensus I could find was just watch whatever one you prefer. There's not really any difference content-wise. So I was like, okay, great. So I can just... I've made a gun. I'm putting bullets in it. I'm not even supposed to yet. It's supposed to have red studs. I'm taking them out. One of those shot up my sleeve. Right, where are we at? I haven't actually been paying attention. I've just been assuming again. It's not too complicated of a build, so I can do that. It's not... Nothing's going to bite me in 30 hours' time. It's going to bite me in 20 minutes' time. So I've been watching Dragon Ball Z. I've been watching it dubbed, and I gotta be honest, I was like, this is so much easier than watching it subbed. And I think, frankly, it's better as well. For one, Goku's not voiced by an old woman, which, yeah, she's good at it, but it's not quite right. I forgot how weird of a show it is as well. Like when you think back to Dragon Ball Z in particular, you probably think, yeah, it's about Goku, isn't it? It's really not. He's not in it that much. But like, he dies in episode 2, and then for like the next, I think 20 episodes or so, he's just running on Snake Way. Like, it'll cut to him for like a minute an episode. It's like, yep, still going, running along. It's really more about Gohan, if anything. Gohan. I hate saying the Japanese names out loud because you realise you've only ever heard them say it and it sounds fine, but when you say it, it sounds wrong. And even then, when I've said it, it might have sounded right to you, it might have sounded wrong. 2, 3, 4 of those, and 2 of those. Okay. So I've just gotten up to the bit where they're on the way to Namek, and what's his chops, the crew have been they get caught on fake Namek, don't they? Have I made this right? I have. So I'm on that bit. It's funny because the way I used to watch it as well, I used to watch it on like TV, obviously. That's how you watch things back in the day. But I'd almost never get to see the end of a fight. Like, a good example would be Frieza versus Goku. I'd miss like the last 2 episodes of that, and then it would immediately stop that run, start back at episode 1, and just go forward from there. Which I can't understand, because the series was all done at that time. I don't know if it needed to be dubbed or what. So I'm looking forward to actually getting to see it in order, without having ludicrous waits in between. So, oh yeah, you fucked up. You missed that showing. You're gonna have to wait 6 months for the next one. That and that, and I've got to put stickers on a curved piece. That's mental. Spider-Man, Spider-Man. Look out. It's this, I'm putting a red sticker on red Lego. They could have printed that. In fact, all of these could have been printed on. I wouldn't have minded. Some purists, you know, they don't like bricks to be printed on. Fine. I've made that up. It sounds real, but I've just made that up. I don't know anyone in the Lego community. I know some other people who do Lego, but I mean, we're all adults. We don't talk about it. We're just like, yeah, I do it as well. It's like talking about jigsaws. There's really nothing to talk about. Or it's the opposite side of being into board games as an adult. Like, find someone else who likes board games, and it's 50-50. They'll either say, oh yeah, I like board games, and then they'll go, yeah, I like playing like Monopoly. You're like, oh yeah, okay. It's the equivalent of saying, yeah, I like film. I love The Greatest Showman. You're like, okay, yeah, it's a good film. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with liking it, but it's, you know, there's 1,000 different directions you could go in from there. Don't stop there. Monopoly is a similar case. Like, yeah, it's a board game. It's got elements of good games in it. It's like, you know, you've got trading, like some game. Wait, what? I've made this wheel and it just goes. I think at some point I'm going to be securing this, but so far I've just stuck it in there. Yes, the next step is securing it. Okay, I'll allow it. Yeah, Monopoly. It's not a bad game by any means, is it? It's got elements of a good game in there. Like, you've got to trade with other players. You've got to make some strategic decisions. It's not too bad. It's mostly based on luck, but not 100%. I'd say the luck element goes down somewhat the more players you have, and a certain amount of it can be about like reading your opponent. So it's got that going on for it, but also enough luck. It's a perfect sort of tester, isn't it? Board game wise, it's not a be all and end all. Right, it's got a wheel that goes round. This is going to become important later, I feel, or maybe right now. Yeah, so that they'll probably say that, or they'll say like they'll name a board game. They'll name like, oh yeah, I like playing Scythe or Eldritch Horror, or they'll start. They might even go deeper. They'll start naming like those single player board games you get that are kind of like tabletop RPGs for one person with like hundreds of figures, and it's like, yeah, you need a table about twice as big to dedicate to this, and it takes about a year to play it. And like they'll say that, and you'll be like, well, I'm out of my league here. Does anyone play Catan? So that's the trouble with board games. Like, unless you've played it, that's it. There's no more discussion, and you can't really say, I don't know, well, you like that, you like this. It's such a broad thing, but because it's rare to find someone into it, you kind of cling to it. It's similar with anime, to be honest, actually. If you find someone who likes anime, you'll be like, oh, you like anime? I like anime. Let's hope we've got, of the 100 anime I watch and 100 you watch, one of them will probably be the same, and that's what we'll talk about if we're lucky. And even then, we probably won't even be anywhere in the same ballpark. It's like, oh, you're into One Piece? I'm into One Piece. What episode are you on? Oh, you read the manga. I'm on episode 16. We can't talk for 15 years. Okay, I've made a wheel. It's a bit off center. Nothing can be done. So I've done something. It's kind of fixed it. Ah, fuck. I've got to take this whole... it's all got to come out now. I've fucked it up. got distracted talking about anime, didn't I? Alright. If ever I end up talking to anyone about video games, I know for a fact that there is no way in hell anyone will be playing the same games as me. So I almost don't even bother. So I'll be like, I'll get on your level is what I'll do. Oh, you're into PUBG. I've never played it, but I know a fair amount about it. I've seen it. I know the shtick. I could make a few jokes here and there. So oh yeah, I run prison. I can talk the talk. What have I made? Okay, that's great. I've made it wrong. Now it's right. Why couldn't they tell me that first? It's suddenly become intricate. It's definitely talking about board games as well. I can't remember why. Yeah, odds are, if you talk to someone about it, they'll be into a higher level of board game or a lower level than you. Almost never the same level. And it's like, it almost kills the conversation stone dead. It's like, well, yeah, that's it. It was fun knowing you. Or they might be the worst kind of person that doesn't realise that board games are kind of a competitive space, and yeah, you're there to have fun, but equally, you know, you're not there to make the game last forever. Someone's got to win. If you're not playing to win, you're not playing to win, are you? You're not playing. I do notice that when I play board games with people, every now and again, particularly if you have like a group of more than 3 people playing a game, you'll get people that they're almost like NPCs. It's like they're in the game, they have all the same abilities and skills as you, but it's like they're not really playing to win. They're like the bots. They're fluffing it out. If you weren't there, they'd be going in circles for years. You know who you are. Right, done that. Now I've got 2 engine bits and 2 gear sticks to add. Goes in like this. And this goes straight up. This almost ties into the Spider-Verse, but not quite. In that Sandman and Vulture weren't in that. There was kind of a spider robot in that, and Spider-Man 2099's in that, if you stay to the end. God, what a good film that was. I almost had it ruined for me in that the first time I saw it somewhere with a broken projector. But not... The projector was broken, right? I walked in and I thought, that projector's broken. But I wasn't 100% certain. And I'll tell you how it was broken. It was dark. I don't know how to describe it really more than that. It was too dark. It was like the brightness was turned down. Or more specifically, if you've gone onto your TV, it will have brightness settings for like standard daylight where it'll be brighter. Or there'll be like a movie setting where it's darker for some reason. It's like it was jammed on one of those low settings. And I was like, it's too dark. And I thought, maybe it'll go when the film starts. Maybe it was just the trailers. Maybe I was just wrong. I might have been wrong. Or it might have been that, you know, I hadn't realised the lights were up higher and they dimmed them down and suddenly you wouldn't notice. I was like, maybe it's any one of those things. And as the film went on, I was like, nope, it's too dark. And I was like, well, I could go out and complain, but will they restart the film? If I leave, I'll miss shit. I don't want to miss anything. So any scene at night, I was like, can just about see what's going on, but not really. Kingpin wearing a black suit, I was like, he's just a black lump. Which he mostly is in the film anyway, but still. So it was slightly ruined by that, my initial viewing of Into the Spider-Verse. It was saved, because I just went and saw it again afterwards, but I was really pissed off. I didn't even stay for the post-credit scene. I was like, I'm going to see this again. I don't want to... I don't want this. I think this is going to be a leg, eventually. I don't know if I got it on the right way. And I was supposed to make 4 of them, and I've only made 2. Holy hell. This is actually really intricate. There's a lot of spindly bits. One of my great regrets is that when I sat down to do this, I didn't start any kind of timer. I didn't get any water at all. My throat is dying. However, there's no however. I'm just burning with anger. Goes on there. Oh, wow. Guessing that goes on there. And I'm guessing I'll put this one on backwards as well. Seems pretty clear to me now. This had better be good after all this. Like, I can tell this is all like the internals and this is all the fluff that makes it look like anything. I'm saying I can tell that. I'm guessing that's what it is. Put me 8 of these. I can't count to 8. No man can. So really interested in Penn and Teller a bit on that. It's like what's the highest number you can imagine? Which if you ask someone that question, like what's the highest number you can imagine, they'll probably say something ludicrous like 10,000 or something. It's like, no, you don't understand the question. And it was all down to if you look at a dice, right, the numbers 1 to 6 on there. 1 is 1, 2 is 2, 3 is 3. 4 is 2 lots of 2 on the dice face. 6 is 2 lots of 3. 5 is its own thing. 10 is 2 lots of 5, right? And it goes into the fact that once you get above 10, you can't just see that amount and say 10. You get 10 becomes 2 lots of 5. 11 becomes a 5 and a 6. It's kind of dice. 12 becomes 2 lots of 6. So in theory, the biggest number you can actually imagine is 6. Like 7 is a 4 and a 3. 8 is a 4 and a 4. The whole point being that like it's impossible to visualize numbers as big as 1 million or 1 billion or anything. You just can't fathom it. But I don't have the cognitive capacity or the memory to explain that bit to people, so you'll just come across as really dumb. Or you can go the other way of it. You can say, what's the biggest number you can imagine? And then you can point out to them, well, actually, you can only really imagine about 10, can't you? Or maybe 15 if you're lucky. All right, what have I actually made here? I've made elbows, I think. How does it go on? On the outside, in the middle, right. This is apparently this is why they don't make spider tanks in the military. They're complicated. Fuck me. And now these spanners, which aren't spanners at all, but they remind me of them. Ah, these join something together. Ah, this is the okay, right, yeah. This is the thing that's going to make it all turn at once. I now know how this is going to work as well. That wheel is going to be when you push it along, it will make all the legs move, so it looks like it's crawling. That's clever, that is. Done it again, you cheeky bastards. Right, okay. Oh, that was nice adding all those bits in. Right, is that it? Yep. All right, on to the next bag. Nearly there now. Home stretch. This should be relatively quick. Right, before I do anything, I'm going to build the inexplicable inclusion of Spider-Man 2099, who, don't get me wrong, really cool suit. I'm not a huge fan of the character, but I don't actually know the character specifically. All I know is there's a different version of him I know. I shouldn't leave that up there. I'll forget about it. I read the comic book Exiles, which is probably my favourite comic book series, because it was kind of a bit like Quantum Leap, I suppose, or I don't know. It was almost like a serial story in nature, where it was a group of heroes called the Exiles who had all been taken from different dimensions, and when there's a problem in the dimension or timeline or whatever, they send this group in to fix it. And I think they work for like some cosmic figure or whatever. And it's like, do this job enough, eventually we'll send you home, you know, pat on the back job. I was wondering why I had no little bits. I haven't finished opening. That was the story of Exiles. And the main group, it was actually a really cool group. It was made up of Morph from that one episode of X-Men. I think he dies in the first episode of the X-Men animated series. So there was Morph, there was Mimic, who was a really cool character, who initially was an X-Men villain in Uncanny X-Men, and he could mimic the abilities of the original X-Men. But in the Exiles version, this is a different reality version. Initially, he was a villain, and instead of just beating him up and he runs off, they just talk to him and go, "Hey, look, man, you're just confused. Do you want to come and hang out with us?" And he's like, "Yes, I would love that." He joins the X-Men, and so he's a part of like the initial crew. Becomes good friends with him. He ends up being the de facto leader because he can use all their powers. He helps them use their powers better because suddenly they've got someone who can do what they can do, so they can teach each other. And also because he knows all their powers so well, it makes more sense for him to be the leader. So suddenly you've got this really cool character called Mimic, who's got a really cool power set. He's like the leader of the group, and I forget most of the others. Honestly, I think there was. Warpath might have been in there, or point being there was this team, and then they later find out that like they're kind of the A team of Exiles, and there's like another group who are like not the B team, but the this situation requires less tact and ability and more go in and kill the enemy. There's that team, of which Spider-Man 2099 is a member. So that's my only real knowledge of him, like an alternate version of an alternate version comic character. So I don't know much about him, except his name might be Miguel O'Hara, or it might not be. Actually, I'm pretty sure that is his name. I think that bit I've got right. It's a very colourful set as well so far. I like that. There's a lot of blue and red, obviously, and there's a fair amount of green in there. That's the trouble. When you're a big fan of building vehicles in Lego, it tends to be that you'll only ever end up building Star Wars stuff, because that's what most of it is, which is fine. Most of that's grey. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Mostly grey. It's not... Trouble is, they can't really move away from it, because then it's not really that Star Warsy. Although saying that, a lot of the Clone Wars era stuff, they had more colour in there, didn't they? Like the Jedi Starfighters tends to be like blue and red. Yoda's was green. 2, 3, 4. Funny thing about Spider-Man 2099 is they picked that date because it's a good future date, but it's not so far in the future that it's like, oh yeah, we've travelled off Earth, we've got planets, colonies everywhere. It's like, it's future-y, but not massive amounts. You know, the Earth's not going to die anytime soon. But now, when it's 2019, and you're like, that's 80 years from now. You know, reasonably speaking, you could know people who would be alive then. Like your kids would have a solid shot. You probably know people who were alive 80 years ago. It's suddenly still far in the future, but not as far. And it scares the shit out of you. It's the kids, Marty. They're racist. Actually, we've fully surpassed the dates from Back to the Future, haven't we? I can't be certain because I've only ever seen the first Back to the Future. Not as like, you know, I've been avoiding it or I don't want to watch it. I watched the first one fairly late for most people, considering the kind of film buff I am as well. It's one of the odd holes in what I've watched. I think it's because when I was younger, I didn't really watch anything live action. This is chrome. They've given like a shiny chrome piece. I've never seen one before. It looks amazing. In fact, it's like a dull chrome, would be the best way to describe it. Yeah, so I only saw the first Back to the Future kind of late. Like, I don't know when exactly. Let's let's say I was 15, which is fairly late to see a film like that. Most people I feel would see it in the 10 to 15 age range. Was I driving? Can't remember. Doesn't really matter. And I watched that. I was like, I'll watch the others if I see them on, but I haven't since then, in the past decade plus. Though I've probably seen enough things that have referenced it that very little would come as a surprise to me. I might almost be annoyed. I was like, I thought that was a original episode of Futurama. It turns out it's all a reference to Back to the Future. In fact, that happens actually if you go back and read like loads of old sci-fi and stuff, you'll start realising like none of Futurama is original. It's all copied of other stuff. It's more like homage, which is fine. It's just one of those funny things you realise. Same with The Simpsons, like the Treehouse of Horror episodes. You go back and realise, oh, these are all based off like classic horror films. This has been really pleasing to make. Putting these blue circles on is great. I've no idea what this is I've just made, but it was pleasing. It seems to go on the back, facing this way. I'm guessing it jams in like this, as it's the only possible fashion. Okay, good. It's not yet a spider. You'll know when it's a spider because I'll make a noise, and I'll just stop. I've got to keep an eye on this because this video could cut out at any moment. Well, not any. Well, actually, I don't know how long I've been going for. That's the trouble. Has it been an hour? How hungry am I? Is it dark out? These are the questions that would help me. Have I got a phone? No. I've become that kind of arsehole who I really hate seeing people on their phone. In particular, my brother and his partner, they got a kid. My nephew, who I'm an uncle to. I'm not much of an uncle to him, I'll be honest. I don't really have anything to do with him. Not in a mean way, I don't like kids particularly. Young kids, more of slightly older kids. He says, playing with his Lego. But they were up visiting earlier, just in the kitchen. I was doing a bit of washing up. They were both sat on the sofa. Their kid was in front of them. He's about 3. Kid was in front of him. They were both on their phones, and I was like, stop ignoring your kid. You're going to give him a complex. He's going to be confused. You're setting a horrible example. Because at some point they're going to be like, oh, he spends so much time on his screens and all that. It's like, yeah, you learned it from fucking you. Get off him. Put your phone down. You're not doing anything. That's the trouble. That's something I'm truly against. Oh, my cat's going mental now. It's spending time like on a phone or on a screen or whatever, and you're not actually doing anything. That's the worst part of it. It's fine to be on it and doing shit. Like, oh yeah, you're reading your email and you're responding. That's fine. If you're just scrolling through social media, it's like you have to stop. If you're checking like, I don't know, sports news, it's like you're wasting your time. You should stop. I think this is a leg. It looks quite cool. Right, I've got to make 4 of these now. And I suspect I'm going to have to make... Wait, hang on. No, spiders only have 4 legs. Why would I have to make even more? I mean, I'm definitely going to have to make more because I've got the equipment for 8. I don't want to jump ahead though and put all the stickers on at once because I'll definitely get it wrong. Spider-Man, Spider-Man, does whatever a spider can. Funny thing about Spider-Verse was it's got Peter Porker, Spider-Ham in it, who was a spider who was bitten by a radioactive pig, I think, was the joke there. So there's no human in that at all. But he's actually quite an older comic books character. But a lot of people seem to think he's actually from The Simpsons, when Homer has the pig in the Simpsons movie, the Spider Pig. And it's like, well, actually, if anything, they took that from Spider-Man to begin with. So it's one of those weird sort of circular theft points. Right, where are we at there? Got Game of Thrones coming back soon. I'm in two minds about that. I'm excited for it to be back because it's basically my favourite TV show that's on at the minute. And at the same time, it's like, it's going to be over soon. That'll be it. And there'll be loads of people who will shit all over it for no apparent reason. I'm like, fuck off. It's the best show in years. You loved it. I did all that really fast, and I'm really happy about that. Soon I'll have made a whole bunch more legs. Of course, the trouble is, if I make all the legs at once and put them all on at once, the odds of me suddenly going, it's a spider, are growing immensely. Let's see, I need 3 more of those. That cat that you may or may not be able to hear, Mickey, his name. I'm hoping he'll be dead soon. Not in a mean way. I'm not trying to kill him. He is very old, very rickety, and many times over the past year, it's a farm cat, you see. Many times over the past year, it's been a case of like, should we go and put him down? It's like, no, we just bought a box of food for him. Let's wait. But it's like, we're harsh people. But it is one of those things like, can you go off and die, please? We're not going to kill you. We can't be doing that. But, you know, it's your time is up. Come on, off the bus. Other people need to be next in line to die, and you're ruining it. I will feed him though. I'm not actively trying to kill him. He's in kind of a do not resuscitate situation. Let's put it that way. Okay, done that, and now put these claws on, which are slightly reminiscent of, I'm not even sure what they're called. They're a type of like savoury wheat-based snack, that bugles, I think they're called. They're not that nice, but they're kind of fun to pick up and put on your fingers. And then on top of that, they've got a good crunch to them because they're hollow and long. That's the only reason they're nice to eat. Not because the flavour's nice, they've just got a good texture to them. Which is a huge thing. There are so many times in life where I'm hungry not for food, but for a texture. I just want something crunchy to eat. Right, 4 of them. Now these attach. Okay. These attach to... The fuck are these attaching to? Oh, Christ. This might be a bit difficult to get on. There we are. So these don't actually move, I don't think. Or they... Oh, they do... that's clever. This is a very clever set. All of this. It's almost like proof of concept. Like, I was a bit skeptical about this set when I looked at it, because I was like, none of this is anything. But so far, the Vulture's wings are cool. The Sandman is kind of a cool minifig. This is pretty sweet. And it's not even finished. It's going to have 4 more legs on. In fact, I think that's all it's got to have, is 4 more legs. Let's get that. The camera's still rolling. That's good. No idea if my mic's on. It might not be. Right. I'm building all 4 at the same time this time. I've actually read ahead. 4 of them. All of these. Just all of them. Get them all. There we are. I'm really pissed off. I missed out on seeing Holmes and Watson at the cinema. A comedy film with that low of a rating. That's something that because the thing is, I'll see anything at the cinema. Post-cinema, I'm very picky about what I'll watch. So I'll only watch good films that I missed at the cinema, which is rare. Doesn't happen very often. But that's a bad film, which I'll only watch at the cinema. I won't watch a bad film at home, because it feels like I could be doing anything better. But you know, Saturday night's film night. I go to the cinema. Whatever's on is on. I am just burning through this. I missed out on that. I watched a fucking good film though over New Year's. I watched the Favourite. Oh, that is a good film. I mean, you don't think when you're watching like a historic period drama set in like the 18th century that there'll be quite as much lesbian sex as there was in this, but my God, they found a way. It was one of those films where it had that perfect blend of English humour that was very dry and witty jokes that you like, that no one could possibly laugh out loud at. It's the sort of thing you'd see it and you'd go, very good, very good. That's the sort of joke it was. And then at other times they'd just be doing ludicrous slapstick. It's something that you only really get in English humour. And anywhere else you get one and not the other. But here you get both, and I love it. Right. All of those are on. Let's turn these all the same way. It'll make it easier to put them on. Wow, that worked miraculously well. I'm chaining through this. Assemble these. I really should hurry because the fact that the cat's asking for food out there means that my dogs will also be asking for food. And I have a system. I feed the cat, then I go and feed the chickens. Well, at this hour I just shut the chickens away, and then I feed the dogs because that way the dogs can't eat the cat's food. And the cat won't eat dog food. Cat's got higher standards. Alright, 4 of them. I already know how these attach. Actually, do I know how these attach? I don't. I spoke too soon. No, these go on differently. Right, let's actually look at the damn thing and go from the start. So this one goes on here. Like that. 2 there. And then 2 at the back. Oh, that was it. There's only, yeah, that's fine. All right, let's it's a spider. No, I never attained that point apparently. It's not quite finished yet. I've got to put on some weird little bits. How do these even go? Why did they tell us to put it on now? Significantly harder to get in there now. It's kind of a little turbine affair. Using that delightfully transparent blue colour they use. Oh, it's a gun. I think. Kind of. Is that going to go in? No. How does this fit on here? Okay, like that. And then this one goes... You know what, looking at these 2 little grey things I put on, I think they're actually slightly different, and I've managed to get them the right way around by accident the first time, so we'll praise that. And we're pretty much done now. Just got... Oh, it's a web. Wait, no. Is it? These are eyes. And it's very risky putting them in because I'm loading them into the barrels of the guns whilst looking directly at them. Yeah. Look at it go. Look at it go. It's horrifying. I haven't quite got the legs right though. I need them to be at more of an angle, I think. There. Yeah, that's pretty good actually. I can respect the build of this, right? Yeah, all right. Let's actually finish building it though first before I respect the build. So I think it's going to be able to not shoot webs, but the closest it can come to shooting webs. You know what's really weird, right? A few Lego sets ago, I think it was like an airport scene from Civil War. It came with a bit of Lego rope, which is essentially just some string with 2 studs at the end, which has been like one of the finest pieces of like Lego stuff I've had, and it's never come up again. I've never seen another one in any set, and it should be included with all of these play sets because there's just so much shit you can do with it. Right. Oh, yeah, I see. So basically, instead of having it fire this little shitty thing, you can have it shooting a web out the back. That's way better. It just looks better, I think. Well, it would if it went in there. Yeah, there it is. But it kind of looks good. It's okay. Then it's just a bunch of instructions for how to make this fellow shoot webs. You're roping. It's not too hard. Let's put him on this one. Is that it? We done? I think we're done. Yep. So that's the full set. Well, thanks for watching. That was the extended build. You can see the review section over in the cut down version.